welcome to another Time for Tea Designs video. In today's video, I'm going to be making two cards using one die. This is the A2 Nesting Frames die, and I had loads of fun cutting this out of loads of different coloured pieces of cardstock to create all these rainbow patterns. I'm also going to be using a series of other dies. I'll be using the Home Sweet Home Sentiment die, and I will also be using the Autumn Scene cover plate die. To adhere my frames to my card base, I'm going to be using this Stick It adhesive sheet. I used the largest die from the Autumn Scene cover plate die to cut a panel, and I'm now going to stick each of my frames directly onto the adhesive sheet. This is a little bit fiddly, and you can see I didn't quite get that straight, but that's okay. We can trim those pieces down afterwards. So I'm just lining each of these pieces up, and I'd actually cut 7 different coloured pieces of cardstock using my frame die, and then I've been able to mix all of those together to create some different rainbow effects. So I'm going to be using those for some different cards in the future. But I liked this arrangement of colours, so I'm just going to trim off those edge pieces, and sticking it directly onto this adhesive sheet is going to make the next part of the process so much easier. So I've taken 2 of the dies from the Home Sweet Home Sentiment die, and I'm first of all going to cut the home piece out of my coloured layers, and I'm also going to cut the word sweet out of some plain white cardstock. So I'm just popping that out, and you can see that because we've popped this onto that adhesive sheet, that all of those tiny little pieces are going to stay really well stuck onto those die cuts. I've cut the second home from underneath that centre panel, and we're now going to just snip down some pieces of acetate and cover those words up from the back. So I'm just going to use some of my my tape runner here just so that I can attach those pieces of acetate onto the back. Now my acetate is down, I'm just going to trim down a card base so that there is a small frame just around my focal panel there. Using this really thick foam tape, I'm going to line the back of that focal panel, leaving space where the home sentiment is, and I'm going to fill those areas with some of this these shaker bits. I'm going to remove all of those bits of tape. I've sped that up because it did take way too long, and then I've just attached my panel on the back. I'm going to add some dimension to the word sweet by cutting that from some foam. So I've just used some white foam there, and I'm going to add some liquid glue onto that so that I can add the card die cuts onto the front. And I'm just squidging that into place. It just takes a little bit of fiddling, but because we've used liquid glue, we've got that little bit of wiggle room. And I do think this is a great way of adding dimension to your fine sentiments. Some more liquid glue on the back of that, and I'm just going to pop that in the middle of the 2 home die cuts, and there we have our shaker card complete. Had I done this one again, I think I would have added a few more shaker bits, but I was really pleased with how it turned out. For our second card, I'm going to cut my panel using the Sparkle cover plate die. This is a really fun die because it does create these lovely little sparkly apertures once you've cut that out. And I'm using some glitter cardstock to make that panel. Once I'd added that onto some black cardstock, I really liked the way that that looked and the way that the die cuts that we'd cut previously really pop against that background. So I'm going to add some liquid glue to my panel, and I'm going to pop this onto my black cardstock, leaving a small frame around the outside. So I'm just going to use my trimmer here just to cut down the other edges so that we have that same sized border all the way around. I'm also going to cut my card base as well, just using again that same small frame around the outside just to add some dimension. I will use my liquid glue here just to attach that panel onto the back of my card base. And again, I've cut out the Sentiment Sweet first from some black cardstock and then from some black foam. And again, I'm going to do the same process where I just add some of my liquid glue to then attach my sentiment on top. Again, just a little bit of fiddling around and rearranging just to make sure that that fits in place. And this Cosmic Shimmer Glue does dry clear, so you won't see any of those gluey bits once we've completed it. I'm using the apertures that I've cut out of that die just to help me line up my sentiment. It's worked out really quite nicely that it's actually got some lines on there that I can use for that center sentiment. And then to arrange the other die cuts, I'm going to use my T-square ruler just to help me get them properly lined up. I'm using my liquid glue again, which will give me that little bit of wiggle room if I don't quite get them lined up first time around. But having that T-square ruler there does really help. And also having my tweezers really helps me guide them into place. So using my liquid glue, lining up my T-square ruler, and I'm just making sure there that I'm using the same spacing at the top and at the bottom so that they are perfectly lined up. I'm just going to add the M and the E in the same way, and I've started in the middle of my my word and worked my way out. That way I know that I'm going to get my spacing just right. So once I'm happy that they're all lined up, I did feel that it needed a little bit of something else. So I have these really tiny little star embellishments as part of the watermelon embellishment mix, and I'm using some glossy accents just to adhere these onto my my focal panel. And I think this just really picks out the pink tones that are in our sentiment and just adds an extra little bit of interest and a bit more sparkle to that background. The glossy accents is perfect for this because it is a clear adhesive, and it also adds a little bit of gloss and shine behind our embellishments. So that's our card complete. I really enjoyed making both of these cards, and it was so much easier with that nesting frame die, and I can't wait to make some other cards using those same rainbow pieces. If you did like our video today, then please do like and subscribe to our channel, and we'll be back again with more videos for you again real soon. Thanks guys, bye bye now.